Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this beautiful Sunday morning on an Easter Sunday to boot. I want to wish everybody who celebrates Easter happy Easter. Thank you for taking time on a Sunday morning, an Easter Sunday morning, to join me and my lovely guest, Lainne. She is a business coach who takes a holistic approach, and I want to hear more about her, and I'm sure you do as well. Welcome, Lainne.
Hi, good morning. Happy Easter.
How are you?
I'm excellent. It's a beautiful day. I'm so happy to be here. It's a great way to spend a day and certainly a great way to spend a holiday.
Yes. So, um, where are you spending Easter these days?
I am in Toronto and the Easter Bunny came this morning.
Oh, wonderful.
That was really a lot of fun. There's just so much magic and playful energy in that. So I remember that from my childhood. And
Yeah.
then we're gonna go for a walk in the park.
Oh, beautiful. That'll be fun. That'll be
How about
fun.
you?
We're just gonna chill out today.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful day. It's one of those days where it's just a beautiful day, and we're gonna take it easy.
sounds wonderful.
So, I want to hear more about your journey. You are a business coach, you take a holistic approach, but you have quite an interesting story.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing about being a human is that most of us have pretty cool stories if we just took the time to listen or share, the journey that we've all had to get to where we are. And still the journey ahead. Who knows? Who
Right?
knows? It's always something unexpected and a learning opportunity. And there is definitely a lot of challenges, but a lot of beauty along the way too. And so, probably like a lot of people, I grew up in chaos. I was a child to a single mom with 4 kids, and she was just a teenager when she had my older brother and I. And so, as you can imagine, she did not have the skills or talents or abilities to really be a healthy parent. And so, there were a lot of you know, uncomfortable situations in my childhood. I definitely experienced all different kinds of abuse. And it took me a really long time to unwind that and heal from that because when you grow up in a certain environment, you don't even know that is what you've grown up in, and you're not even
Right.
aware of like what the ways of thinking are or the challenges are, and that's for everybody, like that's what I was steeped in, that's what I grew in, and so I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know a lot of things. And so it took me a lot of years to get to look at all of those different things and heal and get the wisdom from it and forgive. And I'm a parent, I'm a single parent to a neurodivergent child, and looking back on my mom, it's like, wow, although there was so much chaos and it was really unhealthy, like she did a great job. She could have lost her mind way more than she did, and she
I'm sure
didn't.
she did. She just didn't let it be seen.
Oh, she let it be seen. She
She
let
did.
it be seen. Oh, yeah. But, I was always proud of her because she finished high school and, went to college and had kids, and, that's a lot and worked.
It's a lot.
So,
It's a lot. Yeah.
in a lot of ways, as much as there wasn't a good example, there were also a lot of good examples because nothing's just like, either or.
Right.
And
It's not
so
a
I
vacuum.
definitely, yeah, exactly, took a lot of the good things from it. It took me a long time to see the more unhealthy sides, and honestly, I'm still, like, unpacking, all of that, and I still have a hard time really fully accepting and digesting a lot of it. And that's okay. That's the journey, even with all of the therapy and coaching and skills and tools that I have, it's still challenging at times for me, and so I find that really helpful, when I'm working with my clients. It's just
Exactly.
because yeah, we have the technology, we have the tools, we have the education, um, applying it and integrating it and then, like, becoming it. Those are different things. And so
Yes,
just having patience and compassion with ourself, but always taking responsibility,
right.
always taking responsibility, and once you do that, then you can do anything.
Now, walk us through your journey a little bit. So, you've done a lot of the similar things of talk therapy and,
Mhm.
go not going through the motions, but taking in taking those steps on that path. And
Yeah.
then somewhere you came to that crossroads. We come to that crossroads. Well, is this still working and do I continue on this path? Or is this not working and do I take another path? And clearly from your history, you took the other path. So kind
Yes.
of walk us through that journey of when you came to that moment where this isn't working and I got to take another path.
Well, the good news is for everyone out there is there's so many different modalities and opportunities for healing, and they all work. I fully believe that. I haven't tried all of them, so that is a little bit of a blanket statement. But I have tried many, like probably over 30 different modalities, and they all work. So the thing is exactly that, to really just pay attention to what is working for you, when and why, and that itself is a process and a journey and a learning. So talk therapy is so great. I find talk therapy to be a really great beginning point. So it helps you to just be able to organize your thoughts and start to express the things that have been like suppressed within you. But for me at least, it wasn't, it wasn't something that I could continue on to really do, like, deep dives, but it's a really great beginning point. I've done a lot of energetic work with shamans and plant medicines and Reiki and, oh gosh, and crystals and
Mm,
lots of different physical types of energy. I've done galactic healing. Like really, I'm open minded about all of it, and I think it's all really cool. I've done neuro linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnotherapy, and the list really goes on and on. So it all works. It's just figuring out what works for you at the right time, and only you can figure that out. Only you can determine that. But what I have in sharing my experience, I think one of the most important tools is subconscious reprogramming. So you've got to get at that, because that's the thing that's always going to be coming up and sabotaging your growth. And that was certainly really insightful and helpful for me, because I couldn't understand, like, I understood all of the things, like, I know I'm doing this, I know why, and I wanna not be doing it, but I couldn't not be doing it regardless of
right.
what it is that I tried, and that's because I needed to get at the subconscious program, because that's what's running our show, which we've all heard many times over, and we're hearing that because that's the truth. That's what's running your life, is whatever your programs are, and you've received those programs from your family, from the country, the town, the city that you live in, from your ancestry. There's also that is remembering that we're way cooler and more interesting than we casually talk about. Like, we are these spiritual beings, eternal spiritual beings, having an experience as a human being. And we bring with us lifetimes of karma and learning and patterns. that we have come here to process and heal. And we've chosen our specific families and our
Yes.
specific circumstances, because we are here to balance the scales, so to speak, to heal something, to make amends for something, and or to change something, to add to the collective, to uplift the collective energy, because we are all one and we impact each other. Our thoughts, feelings, and experiences ripple out, and it has an impact on the rest of the world, the rest of humanity, the rest of your family. So all of the work that you do is so profound and so powerful and so impactful because of the ripple effects. So, and
Yeah.
knowing that, so most of us don't go into to healing with that awareness, with that knowingness, like the work that you're doing is not only so important for you as an individual, and then for, the people around you, your friends and family and your coworkers, but also for your lineage. When you heal, you're doing 7 generations forward to 7 generations back. That's the energetic impact and imprint that you leave. And then that ripples out again, like into the collective. So knowing that, being curious about it, being interested in that, looking into that is really, really helpful.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so obviously those will help you in how you find peace and how peace comes about in your life. And so I'm asking you, Lainne, how do you personally define peace for yourself?
Yeah, I loved your podcast and your focus on peace, because it's something that I overlooked and didn't really find important because it wasn't like sexy or active. you know, it seemed like it didn't seem like a desirable state to me, because I wasn't doing anything in it or with it. But as I've unpacked a lot of my life and my experiences, coming to peace has been, and not peace all the time. I wish I was in peace all the time, but being able to
None of us
experience
are
peace.
really.
Yeah. Being able to experience peace, like really just, and to notice that, be surprised, like, oh, wow, I was just experiencing peace. Wow, it's so amazing. And noticing that it's really so transformative. I had no idea. I had no idea that it was such a highly desirable state, and that there are downloads of information that come in when you're in that state. There is like a direct knowingness that you all of a sudden get. Like I've done a lot of meditation in my life, and there have been moments where, I've been able to like enter that zone, but it's a different state than just being able to like be in peace and fully accepting who I am and where I am and what my experiences are, and not judging or thinking about my surroundings or the next minute or the next hour or like whatever that is. And um I desire that state more now. Like that's the goal. That is the goal. And it doesn't mean, peace doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything, that I'm not striving towards anything, that I'm not accomplishing anything. It means that I am in acceptance of what it is that I'm doing and not trying to be anywhere else.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how would you say you find peace for yourself? What are some of the things that bring you peace?
Well, it takes effort to find peace. And I think that's something around the whole journey that surprised me. And it took me a really long time to understand and accept, because I kept thinking, well, like I've done this for a year, like steadily, I've been committed and I've done this process for a year. Like this should be it now. Like I should be there right now, right? But I was never there. And it was never, I could never not be doing something. And that's the effort. It's a daily effort. So just like at the gym, like if you want to lose 10 pounds, sure, you have a different protocol for when you're beginning, but if you want to maintain that, it's a lifestyle, right?
It
It's
is.
you go to the gym for the rest of your life. You're active for the rest of your life. You're conscious about the food that you're eating, the sleep that you're getting for the rest of your life. It's the same thing with mindset and spiritual growth. It's not it's not a one-off, it's not a short-term commitment, it becomes a lifestyle. So in order to facilitate peace in my life, I deepen into what my daily practices are, and they change all the time, based on what it is that I'm feeling like I need to work on, or how much time that I have at that moment, or how much I'm fighting myself. And I think the trick is to just to not do it. Like some days when you're like, I woke up late, I don't have the time, or I'm not in the mood, or I don't feel well, or whatever that is. The trick, even on those days, is even just to do like 1 minute. Just
Yeah.
do something, just
Something.
like stay within the habit. And there's a lot of trial and error for me to get there and like to really figure it out. Like, oh, yes, I just have to do it every day. And there are like really wonderful, inspiring people out there. Like, I'm a big fan of David Goggins. I'm definitely nowhere near as hardcore as he is in any capacity, and I don't desire to be, but who he is and how he lives isn't lost on me just because I don't resonate with pushing myself in the way that he does. His lesson isn't lost on me. His
Right.
wisdom isn't lost on me. So I love him, and many others for really inspiring me to keep going and to push myself. So deep daily practice, get one, have one, choose one. There are so many examples out there. There's so many different ones for you to try. So just keep trying until you find the best one for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are definitely, there's so many different levels and different ways to meditate. There's so many different levels and so many different ways to exercise and be there for yourself and know that everything is okay. And
Yeah.
that, I mean, I too am a single parent, and it's crazy. Mine's a teenager. He's just a muy teenager who knows everything. So look forward to that. They know everything. And I remember at that age, and I was like, yeah, I thought I knew everything too.
Me
We
too.
don't. I still don't. I mean, it takes a while to realize, oh no, there's always something to be learned. So in that respect, is how do you feel you bring peace to others?
By taking care of myself and being the best version of myself. And that doesn't mean that I don't have ups and downs and that I don't have reactions. My son will certainly attest that I do. But
Yeah.
what is different is that I circle back to that responsibility. I come back and I am much faster to be able to check myself and then hold myself accountable and examine my reactions or just like how I'm showing up, and be able to then apologize or make amends and take responsibility with that person. And I think that brings peace and love. One, I'm just being the example. Like, I'm not perfect,
No.
but I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to take responsibility, and I'm willing to choose love, even when maybe I can't in the moment, or it's hard. I'm always willing to circle back and choose that. And I know it always sounded like I rolled my eyes when people when people would say like, to
Yeah.
show love and choose love, but my son really taught me that because, as I mentioned, he is neurodivergent, and I experienced a lot of heartache and challenges with with him. But at the end of the day, my inner dialogue, my energy of him and how he was showing up was really, really judgmental. And he was feeling that because I wasn't showing up with love. I was showing up in judgment of him. I was showing up angry at him. I wasn't showing up with compassion. So he'd come home from school, or I'd have to go pick him up, which was often the case. And I would be angry, like, why are you doing this? You're making really bad choices. Like, even though maybe my language would be responsible or maybe even a little bit like positive, my energy wasn't. And it
Right.
wasn't until I really recognized that, oh, my energy is really off-putting, and that was my energy. It wasn't my words that were being impactful, it was my energy. And when I started to shift to like, okay, I'm just gonna like, I love you, I love you, I love you, even if I'm just saying it like on the inside, and I was. So he would be having an outburst and be like kicking me and punching me, and I would be standing there and just, I love you, I love you. I didn't feel it at that moment. I felt like
It could be
angry
hard.
and
I mean, that's a
frustrated,
lot.
but I was shifting to that. I love you, I love you, I love you, and quickly, I did shift into, I love you, and guess what happened to him? He stopped hitting me. He stopped having outbursts. I stopped getting calls from school. Actually, when I got calls from school, it would be that my voice and my presence all of a sudden became something that was able to calm him down. So I no longer needed to go to school and get him because he was able to then regulate because he felt that he could trust me and that I loved him. And so I love sharing that because the power of coming from love and the power of being love is something that I directly experienced, and it will forever shape the way that I move through my life.
That's beautiful. And when you made that shift, it had a profound effect on your son, but did it have a profound effect in other areas as well?
Yeah, because I wasn't being as judgmental again, and the judgment is always on the inside, right?
Mhm.
But for, you know, on the outside, I'm very like positive and supportive, and I mean genuinely I am. But I would notice my inner dialogue. We all have our inner dialogue, so just started to shift that inner dialogue, and again that shifts your energy, that shifts your magnetism, that shifts the way that you make people feel. Even if you're showing up with a smile, but on the inside you're a hot mess, people aren't seeing the smile, they're feeling the energetic frequency of the inside hot messness of you. And
Yeah.
as you begin to
Yeah.
to quell that storm and really be I'd say love and peace on the inside, um, you could be angry on your face and people still feel more safe in your presence because of who you're being on the inside. And I always knew that, but I wasn't practicing it or living it, and it became so different when I practiced it. I was always a safe person for people to be around. Like, I always people always gravitated towards me. I was always the friend, the confidant. But now I feel like I can walk into a room and have a greater impact. Um, because on the inside, I'm not feeling like I'm a storm anymore because I really am. I'll walk down the street and I'll just look at things. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then when people walk by me, they smile. I smile back. I thank the trees. I thank the sky. I just, how can I, how can I practically have that and be that in my everyday life? It's a conscious choice. I'm just gonna walk down the street as I'm walking to the store to go and grab some groceries, and I'm just gonna do that for like 2 minutes. It it's really powerful. the effect that those simple shifts can have on your life and on the people around you, because the more you practice it, the more that's who you are and then how you are, and the people around you all feel that.
Amazing. Amazing. And one question I love to kind of wrap up with and kind of circle with is, what's in your toolbox? So your son is having an outburst, or you're having one of those moments. How do you take, 5-10 minutes to just circle it back and calm yourself down?
I've got so many tools in my toolbox.
Share.
Yeah, I'm like, because I've spent, almost 20 years studying, and practicing and learning, and it changes like day to day. But what I most often use now is just that, because it's so simple. It's so simple. Just to go to, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I mean, we have the ancient practice of Ho'oponopono, which is, I love you, thank you, I
Yeah.
love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And the fifth statement, I forgives myself. There's
Ho'oponopono. I love Ho'oponopono.
that is a practice. Yeah, because it's so powerful. It's so simple. I dismissed it for a long time. I'm not really fully understanding the impact and kind of thinking like, no, it does not. I'm not going to say thank you, I love you. And then like something's going to change. Like Dr. Hugh Len is pretty badass and what he did is great, but like there must be something special about him, because I don't really see that happening in my life. But then it did happen in my life with my son. Um, and so that's the tool that I will always reach for now. Just, I love you. 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 Even if you're just saying it in your head, and even you don't even have to mean it. You could be like, I don't love you. I think you're horrible. That could be your inner dialogue. But just saying the words, I love you, I love you, I love you, there's something, you're casting a spell, there's magic there, and it's doing something. So if I was to choose one thing, I would choose that, because I know the effects that it has. Another thing that I always tell my clients to do is just notice a name. So when you can start to notice how it is that you're reacting or how it is that you're feeling, because most of us don't even know. We can't even name the emotion. Name that emotion. I don't know. I just feel you know. How do you? You can just practice. Oh, I notice I am feeling really angry. I am full of rage. I would like to destroy something. Like whatever, even just doing that, it starts to shift the energy. So
Yeah.
when you can notice exactly what you're feeling, point it out. And I talk to myself like sometimes out loud if I can. And if not in my head, oh, I notice I'm being judgmental. Isn't that interesting? Huh. Or I notice I want to punch that person. Like whatever that is, because we're
Whatever it
all
is.
human and we all have those reactions and those feelings. We don't often act out on them, but we're having those thoughts. And then most often, especially if it's, oh, I want to punch that person, then we go into judgment. Oh my God, I'm such a horrible person. I shouldn't feel that. And then we push it down. We dismiss it. We ignore it. We turn our back on it. But guess what happens to that? It doesn't
It
go
keeps
away just
bubbling up.
because
It keeps
yeah,
bubbling up. It
it
doesn't go
keeps
away.
bubbling up.
You
It
have
doesn't
to
go
acknowledge
away.
it. You have
Yes,
to
you have
acknowledge
to
it.
acknowledge it. Exactly. So if you can just even practicing that, and even, oh wow, isn't that interesting? I just felt like I wanted to punch that person, and now I'm noticing that I'm feeling really judgmental of myself. Like just really practice naming what it is that you're feeling, and that in itself will start to shift a lot in your life. So pick those two. Those are my two go-tos.
How about you said pick those two? So that is all beautiful. And I want to thank you for taking time out on this beautiful Easter Sunday, both in Toronto and here on Long Island, New York, for sharing what brings you peace and how you find it. I'm so blessed to have you on. I thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I know you said you're probably going to take your son for a walk and enjoy the day. And I'm sure that'll bring you some peace as well.
It will. Nature, we hear all of these things. Do these
Mm-hmm.
things. Go spend time in nature. Spend some time quiet. Get some sleep. Read before you go to bed. All of these. Drink enough water. All of these things. And we dismiss them. And I say that because I did.
Oh no,
Uh,
you're not wrong. You are not wrong. People dismiss it. I dismiss it. It's like that gut instinct. It's like, oh, there's nothing wrong. Oh, there's nothing wrong. And then you get smacked in the face because there
exactly.
was something wrong. So I love how you said acknowledge. Oh, that's interesting. It's like, why am I feeling that way? That's interesting.
Yeah, and you don't even need to know why. It doesn't even matter why. It's just, isn't that interesting? That's how I'm feeling. I'm not even going to judge it. I'm just going to notice. And then as soon as you start to do that, it goes away. That's it. It's really that simple.
Or you have to act on it.
Yes. Well,
Not
there's
the
the
rage,
people.
not punching somebody or like going, go out into the wilderness and scream at a few, random trees,
Yes.
not on purpose. It's like, I don't hate you, but I gotta get this out type of moment. Or, that loving moment with your son. I mean,
Yeah.
there are moments when my son is too cool to be hugged, but, I'll get a hug every once in a while. Uh,
My son
um,
has started that too when he's 8. He just stands there with his hands and
it's
on
like,
his
Mom,
sides and leans
yeah,
into me.
yeah.
No, you promised you would always hug me. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those moments when my son was about 5 and he had to go to morning care, and I dropped him off, and I would always give him a hug and a kiss. And there was one day before we went into morning care, and he goes, "Mom, we gotta talk." It was like very serious for a 5-year-old. I go, "What?" And he goes, "No more kisses." I was like, "What?"
No.
I was like, "You just crushed my heart." So I would always give him a hug before we went in, but it was like it was at that age where it was embarrassing because the older kids were like probably teasing him. And it's like, "Oh, your mom." So it's like that whole external influences stuff. It was heartbreaking and funny at the same time. I was like, "I'm not ready for this." What do
I'm
you
not
mean?
ready either. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. It's such a glorious thing to be a parent. It's
Yeah.
uh the most learning I've ever done, the most humbled I've ever been in my life is being a parent. Yeah.
Yeah, they teach and remind you.
Yeah.
That's the interesting part is how they remind you, or at least for me anyway. My son reminds me where I'm looking going, if I called home, would they say, "Oh yeah, that's what they do?" And there are times where I've called home and it's like, "Your grandson wants to do blah blah blah," and it's like, "Yeah, and you did too." So, and it's funny because I find him to not necessarily be a mirror, but be a reminder. And hold up and
Yeah.
say, "Remember
Both.
these
Yeah, you're
years?
right. Yeah,
Remember
remember when
these
you did
years?"
that? Remember when you did that? And that letting go of regardless, the way that we learn as humans is we have to do it ourselves. I can tell you the
Mhm.
stove is hot all I like, but you're never gonna believe me until you touch
Until
it
you touch
yourself.
the clock. Yep. And that's hard because there's
Ugh.
even adults in my life that don't learn.
Yeah,
And that's
it's the human
it's
part
the
of us.
human.
It's being able to let that go. Because I'm an adult. At least I'm the age of one. I don't I don't necessarily feel like one.
Every
But
time.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I have to do it too. So I have to remind. I like that. That's what you said because yes, I have to remind myself all the time. It's not about age. It's just about being a human. Like so, I should
Mhm.
just stop being frustrated.
Right. I mean, easier said than done, but right.
Yes, of course.
And they were, we're always reminded of certain things that happen in our lives. And it's like, oh, It's that lesson. Remember, the lesson on repeat until it's learned, and kind of goes
Yeah.
with the subconscious. It's like, well, when are you going to learn this lesson?
Until I'm
It,
when I'm on my knees, bleeding from all the orifices in my body, if you're stubborn like me, that's what it takes.
yeah,
That's when I
I
learn the
do
lesson.
believe, I do
Yeah.
believe I'm that stubborn too. I like to learn the hard way, repeatedly.
Oh, yeah, I don't enjoy it, but yet I choose it all of the time, yeah.
But sometimes after learning the hard way a few times, you get it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like when you finally hit the concrete, as they say, and you hit that all-time low, you're like, "Oh, I get it. That wasn't a fun fall. Maybe I should not do that. Maybe I shouldn't go to the roof this time." Type of deal.
Amen.
So, yeah, but there's also peace to be found, and it's like when you come to terms with some lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, and there we go. There's back to the peace. And then that's when you find the peace, when you've integrated the wisdom of your choices in the lesson and you're able to just accept it. And then there comes the peace.
There comes peace. Yep. And just because something is horrible doesn't mean you're not gonna find peace in it. And just because a situation is horrible at that time doesn't mean there won't be peace found afterward.
Yeah. Well, at least that's the goal. That's the hope is it's hard to see when you're in it. It's hard to even reach for that or think it's possible. I know I've had many moments in my life where I was sure that this was the time that I was not going to be able to find peace because this is too much. This is too heavy. There's too many things. It's too horrible. Um and yeah, that touches your soul in a different way. But
Mhm.
yeah, if I think about it, the kind of peace that comes from that is, oh, it is like shaping, it's kind of stillness. It's even like galactic and spiritual, like those really, really big things. It feels really profound. Um, and there is that stillness in it and that level of acceptance. It feels complicated and really simple at the same time.
Yeah. And there's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. It's kind of, how they say still waters run deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that imagery. And that's a perfect image for that. So no matter what it is that you're going through, know that it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible to find a peace on the other side of it. Just in the meantime, doing the work. And I know that that can feel hard, impossible, can feel not fair even that that's the path that needs to be taken. And regardless of all those feelings, in truths, you can get there. You can get to the side where there is peace.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I agree. And, that I wanna kinda, like, end on that note is you can get to the end where there is peace
Yeah.
and kind of appreciate things. They may have been
But
unpleasant at the moment, but at the end of it, you come out stronger and more peaceful, and in that stillness, you learn.
it doesn't just happen. And that was the hard lesson for me to learn. Time does not heal all wounds. Action and effort heals all wounds. You've got to do the work. And when you do the work, you'll find that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lainey, for joining us today and for sharing what brings you peace. I
Thank
am
you.
so grateful. And we're going to put you in the green room for a moment, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
I love Lainey's story and I love her advice, and I hope that you found some peace in what she was saying and what can bring you peace. And I'm hopeful that you will enjoy your beautiful Sunday and if you celebrate Easter. And thank you for being part of the Unique Peace community.